What was in Secure Act 2.0?
Secure Act 2.0. Okay, so just to reiterate kind of how that came about. Originally, the original Secure Act 2.0, I guess it was about the middle of the year last year, passed the House like 415 to 5.
Yeah, strong bipartisan support.
That's crazy. We don't see anything like that ever. And so this was a redo of some of the lots of pieces, but a lot of them had to do with what was going on in retirement plans. And it was very popular. And then it got into the Senate and sat there for a long time, for maybe half a year. And so what happened once they did this big
Spending bill.
budget spending bill, they attached this to it, and it got through finally. And so let me share my screen. I'll show you some of the pieces that are happening here. There's a lot more than we're going to talk about. It's pretty
there's a lot of
amazing.
different things.
There is. I'm going to try to hit on the things that might affect you, in your situation, knowing my clients and what they're looking at. So first of all, there was changes to the required minimum distribution. And that's a continuing trend. And I actually predicted this maybe 20 years ago. I talked about the fact that when companies went from pensions to 401ks, right? So pension, you get your monthly income, nothing really changes. And then they said, okay, we're not going to do pension anymore, but we'll match you on your 401k. And so huge 401ks, $1 million, $5 million. And I said, hey, when people start to get at that time 70 and a half, they're going to start to complain because it's going to be huge amounts of withdrawal, taxable income that a lot of people don't need. I mean, it's a good problem to have. That's a first world problem, that's for sure. But they then changed it to 72, right? So that helped. So at least you can leave it in there for longer. Well, now it changes to 73. So if you are in 2023, if you're 72 or younger, you do not have to take a distribution.
I think if you turn 72 in 2023 is
Yeah.
how they work.
Yeah.
So if you turned it 20 or 72 last year, you still have the RMD
Yeah.
from last year. But this year, if you turn 72, you don't have the RMD.
Yeah, exactly. So I was meeting with a client who was 70, and I was telling her, she won't have to take her requirement distributions till 73 now. Used to be 70 and a half, then they moved it to 72, now it's 73. And actually, for you younger folks out there, it's going to go to 75
Yep, in
in
2030.
2033, which is so far off, it's kind of hard to talk about this 10 years from now. But that will still be significant. It'll come. And so, if you're a 40 or 50-year-old looking towards retirement, you can now look towards 75 as the age that you have to start taking money out of retirement plans. That makes a difference. So the next big thing that's happening is just if you have a Roth 401k and your employer gives you a match, right?
So for this one, it's the RMDs actually.
Oh, sorry, it's RMD one. Sorry, that's next. So if you have a Roth 401k and you get, in this case, past 73, normally with a Roth IRA, you do not have to take any money out for required minimum distributions. But if it's listed as a 401k
or a 403B, you
yes,
have to take
anything
these RMDs.
really outside all these, they're kind of employer plans, right? Then you do have to take a distribution, which is kind of a shame because although it's not taxable because it's a tax-free distribution from a Roth, it is getting rid of an asset that can grow tax-free, which is exactly the opposite of what you want. You want to leave that stuff for as long as possible. But now they've matched it up with the IRAs so that you don't have to take a distribution out of your 401k if you still happen to have one past age 73. We just ran into one of these last year where we had a distribution that had to be done, and it was, kind of sad. Better off rolling that into an IRA in the past just to avoid that, but now you don't need to.
Yeah, it simplifies it for people.
Yeah. Okay, so penalty for missed RMD is reduced. I've never seen anybody pay this, but it's still important, and maybe there's a reason why they haven't paid it, because the penalty prior to this Secure Act 2.0 was 50%.
Yeah.
So if you had to take out $20,000 and you didn't, you ended up with a $10,000 penalty. Yeah, big penalty. So that's probably why we've never seen it. I'm sure it's happened, but now it's 25%. And if you correct it within 2 years, it's 10%. That's still a lot. I mean, we got clients taking out $100,000 RMDs and more, so that could be a massive penalty. So you don't want to miss that. You want to make sure that you're distributing your money that you have to by the end of the year.
I wonder though, with this lower 10%, if you correct it within 2 years, if people will start to abuse it because the market could move, more than 10%.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, because that's a good point. Because at 50%, nobody's going to abuse that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there wasn't even a 2-year window. It was nothing, 50, period. And so, yeah, you kind of have to wonder now, okay, if I'm making 10% a year, if I think I could, and, I might have to pay a 10% penalty, would it be better off leaving it for that 2 years? I wouldn't recommend it, only because what you're doing is you're investing in an unknown environment that you think you might do something, but it might not work out. But the guarantee is you're going to have to pay 10. I hate those bets, right? Where you have a guaranteed loss on one side and an unknown gain on the other. I'm not a big fan of that personally. Okay, so so this is increased to catch-up contribution limits. So if you're over age 50.
Yep.
You are allowed to put more money into your 401k. They call it catch-up contribution right now. And now they're starting in 2025 if you're over age 60.
Yeah, so it's 60 to 63, which is a really weird.
Yeah, they give you this, I think that's probably 4 years. They give you this little 4-year window to do even more. And so that's a good thing. I mean, it does allow for a higher, amount of money to go in. It's a write-off if you do a regular 401k. It's tax-free growth if it's a Roth. And, a lot of people do save a lot right at the end. Matter of fact, that's where I think I saw a stat once where from 55 to 65, people save half of their retirement, savings in that time frame. And so, obviously you're better off doing that when you're 20 to 25. You'd really have some money, but we don't have that much when we're that age oftentimes. So, but as you get older here, you could actually put more money into your 401k. It doesn't start till 25 for the new piece, but nonetheless. Now, this is what I was talking about before. So, if you have a Roth 401k and your company is matching, and right now, prior to this change, they would have to put that into a traditional IRA. So let's say you put everything, like I have everything in a Roth 401k personally. And so if I had a company, I am the company, so it doesn't help me, but if I had a company that was matching my contributions, they'd have to put it into a regular IRA, 401k, sorry. And so then it grows tax deferred. That's obviously I'm trying to not do that. I want to have tax-free, income and
avoid
retirement.
the taxes.
Yeah, and so now they're allowing that 401k match to go into the Roth. That's actually a really big deal.
Yeah,
It's
it's like our
amazing.
start for this year, so
Right.
there's going to be some adjustments.
Right.
Most of these things start in either 2024 or 2025.
Right.
And so there's going to be some stipulations like, yes, on that match, you're going to have to pay taxes on it. Then
Yes.
it goes into your Roth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of kind of fine details that are still going to be worked out over the next year.
Exactly. And so, anyway, but it gives you one more option, one more way of doing things. Maybe you don't do it every year. Maybe you do it towards the end. There's all kinds of things that you might do, but I like that. Matter of fact, this Secure Act 2.0, I like.
Yeah, I do too.
It really is pretty good. It's one of the best things I've seen. Maybe that's why it passed. This isn't exactly the bill that got past the House, but it was this flavor, and maybe that's why it did so well, right? Okay, and then we have this automatic enrollment. Now, this is a really cool concept, and some of the details are still going to be fuzzy, I bet, until we really figure this out. But the idea is, you go to work for a company, they're going to sign you up automatically for a 401k. And they're going to have 3% of your money coming out of your check going into that 401k. Now, maybe they have a match or not or whatever. They don't have to. But what it's doing is it's forcing American workers to save. Now, there is an opt-out.
Yeah, 90 days, you can unwind all that, but
Yeah.
otherwise you're opt-in.
That's right. So, but at least it makes, I'll bet you anything, this works really well. I bet you a lot of people don't opt out. It's weird. They didn't sign up for it in the first place, but when they're forced to sign up for it, they don't opt out. And all of a sudden you're going to have massive, this is a great thing for the stock market, because where's it going? It's going to the stock market. So it goes 3%, and then every year it goes up 1%.
Until you hit that 10%
Until
kind
you
of
get
cap.
to 10%. And, you know, to have a really successful retirement, you probably need to get into that kind of 15 to 25% range
Yeah.
anyway. But so many people don't save anything. I remember one stat, I don't know if this is still current, but, you know, the average 65-year-old here in America had $49,000 plus Social Security in their retirement, right? So that's a problem, and that might be somewhat helped by this automatic enrollment. This is a big deal.
Yeah, I think this also matches with people's kind of like standard psychology. It takes effort to opt out, and so we'll take the easier option, which is just opting in or just staying in.
Yep.
Actually, signing up for a plan takes effort. That's why a lot of people don't do it at times.
Yeah, exactly. So this will be automatic 3%. This is good for everybody. This takes pressure off of Social Security, which could, you know, have real problems going forward if we continue to live longer. This takes pressure off of the government in general for supporting retirees. This puts money into the stock market on a regular basis across the board. This is a big deal. I really like that component of it. There's a whole bunch of details and size of company and all kinds of things, which we won't bore you with, but nonetheless, that's a big piece of it. I think it's probably the most exciting part of the whole thing. I just had a question for somebody. I think they were dealing with their father's estate that had passed away, and they weren't sure where the money was, right? And isn't there some place we can go and find, you know, the assets for my father? Because I'm not sure, you know, especially nowadays when a lot of people aren't getting statements in the paper, so you can't hunt through the drawers, you know, that going into an email, which sometimes you don't even have access to because your father didn't give you the password. And so they have this database for finding these old retirement plans, and I think that's really nice. I'm not sure how it'll work, but
It's going to take 2 years, and it's going to be implemented by the Department of Labor.
Yeah.
So it's going to take some time for them to build out the infrastructure to actually support this. But it'll be nice because a lot of times, you know, as we go through different jobs, you know, we might miss a 401k here or there, and to go and find that is kind of important. It's free money in a sense.
oh yeah, I've had several instances throughout my career where people found money that they had put away someplace at a company or an IRA that they didn't remember that they did, and then they found it later. So you wonder how much isn't found. Yeah, I mean, so this would help. And then last is just this Roth rollover for a 529 plan. And there's a lot of criteria here, and that's lots of requirements is is a big one. But one of the complaints I hear about a 529 is, hey, I have a young child. I have no idea. Are they going to college? Not going to college? You know, where are they going to go? Are they going to have a scholarship? How expensive is college? And so I'm putting money in this 529 that can only be used for college expenses. And although I can move it to a different child, or you know, it can kind of redirect, which is nice. I'm afraid of over contributing to this and ending up with all this money in a 529 that doesn't get used for college for a variety of reasons. And so now they're allowing, and you can fill them in on some of the requirements. You're more familiar than I, but they're allowing a Roth, rolling some of that into a Roth.
Yeah, so you have a lifetime of $35,000 that you can roll from a 529 plan into your Roth accounts. But you can only do like the 6,000 or I guess the current contribution. I don't know if they bumped it for this year, but it was 6,000, and so you could hit that cap after a few years. But you know, these 529 plans have to be older, so they have to be open for at least 15 years. So they have to be essentially older plans that have not been used, and then you also have to change the beneficiary to your Roth account, and so there's a lot of little requirements that have to be done to actually make it so you can do this. Yeah,
no, the big advantage is that a 529 grows tax-free, as long as the money withdrawn is for approved expenses, college-type expenses. And that money would move into a Roth IRA in this particular account that would also grow tax-free. There's some big advantages with a Roth IRA versus a 529 for your money. You know, it's not a lot of money in this case, but nonetheless, because you can invest in anything in a Roth. You can move it around and do whatever you'd like with it. 529s, you have to go through a state. They tend to be more expensive. There's restrictives in terms of what options you have, and you can only make changes every 6 months. So if you get your kid through college and there's some money left over and you can meet these requirements, then there might be some hope for that money to move out into a Roth and be there for you for your retirement.
Yep.
Right? So pretty nice, actually. It's a pretty cool bill altogether. I'm pretty excited about it.